Hi and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
Hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, animals and plants, to another exciting episode of Z Games. This is a very special episode. It is the last one of 2013, and it also happens to be our 200th episode.
Woo!
Yay! Who'd have thought that we'd make it this far? So we're going to be a little more self-indulgent than usual.
Oh, God.
And, we're going to be highlighting some of the best interviews that we've ever had on the show, including ones with Yahtzee, Tripod, Ben Eli, and MC Lars. So I hope you'll join us and celebrate our 200th episode with us of Z Games. But let's kick this episode off, as usual, with the Week in Gaming News headlines. Miss Candy Payne.
Thank you, Reza. YouTube has responded to outcry from the YouTube gaming community after thousands of gaming-related videos were flagged for copyright infringements. In most cases, the claims were filed by organisations representing musicians, not by the game publishers themselves. The copyright claims allow the musician to claim part or all of the revenue raised by video views. Games publishers, including Ubisoft, Capcom and Blizzard, have issued statements in support of the YouTube creators and have offered to work with them to resolve the disputes. This week, YouTube sent a message to the affected creators, making it clear that they will not be changing their stance, with advice on how to avoid copyright claims in the future.
Alana, you're a YouTube creator?
So this doesn't actually bother me at all because I don't care about monetizing anything that I do. But it's my understanding that it's actually the music companies that are claiming the videos and not the actual publishers. The only one who's doing anything bad is Capcom, which doesn't surprise me from the company who made Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and then Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate and Dragon's Dogma and then Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. I think there's a trend there with Capcom liking money.
Yeah.
But everyone else is really supportive, which is great.
Yeah, the problem is really with the music publishers and with YouTube not actually doing anything except passing the copyright claim on and then backing away and saying, well, it's your problem. Now you guys figure it out, tiny YouTube person and a gigantic record label. And there's obviously a huge disparity in power there.
I totally believe in musicians' rights. I think that they should be protected as far as copyright goes, but it is totally unfair that these guys who spend hours and hours making these videos, and the music is such an incidental and small part of those videos, that for them to claim, a majority stake of the money that's coming in because of it, I think it's unfair. Because it's the personalities of the YouTube creators that are really drawing the viewers in, and the games themselves. And if the games publishers don't have a problem with it, I don't see why they're trying to strip them of money.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation, especially when, like you said, the major part of the income has nothing to do with the music. People aren't watching for the music, otherwise I would understand. But I did get a claim on one of my videos that just had a backing track from the person who didn't own it. So there was a claim on the video. I had permission from the actual musician to use his track in that video, and then someone else claimed the rights to it. And YouTube, because they're doing so much of this, don't have the time to clarify. And I was like, this is some random. This is not the actual person who has the rights to this. I don't really, what do I do here? So I kind of just unmonetized it and left it.
Yeah, I think that this is really a backward step for YouTube. And I think as soon as Twitch gets some sort of, starts having a database of videos, then people are just going to flock en masse to Twitch or another video streaming service.
There are some people who don't get done by it. Like one of the channels I work for is not affected because they're managed and not affiliate. I don't actually know the difference, but if you're an affiliate channel, that means that you don't have anyone managing you, I guess. So managed, I think, means backed by a company, and if you're backed by a company, then you won't have your gameplay taken down.
Yep.
It's very complicated, though, and sucky regardless.
This next interview that we're about to hear was conducted in late 2010, and it's with Tripod. Now, this was the very first big name kind of interview that I ever conducted, and I was really super nervous. And I remember when I was waiting for them to arrive, I was thinking, just be professional, saying that to myself.
And you peed your pants straight away.
Well, as soon as they walked in the room, I broke down and just said, I'm an amateur. help me. And they pretty much did. They let me take the time to think up questions, and then they even gave me questions to ask them, and they just basically carried the whole interview. So
you didn't need to be here at all, really.
Not really.
No, he's pressing buttons.
Was that the entirety of your radio training?
Pretty much. So I'm not going to take any credit for the quality of this interview. It's all Tripod. It also contains a live recording of Hot Girl at the Comic Shop.
Sweet.
And hearing them play that to me live in the studio, just when I was there by myself, is one of the high points of me doing this show. It was truly incredible. So let's have a listen to the Tripod interview. If you could modify the rules of D&D to add another class, what would it be?
Another one.
This is me and my friend we invented a class when we were in primary school called the Scum. And if you were 18th level, you were called a master scum, and you had you could just get stuff without really working for it.
What was your key sort of attribute? What was it a combination of?
It would be between dexterity and charisma, I think.
Right.
Being a scum.
Right. And you were just good at asking for stuff.
Yeah, and like convincing, getting free things, guilting people into giving you stuff. Oh, yeah. Going around.
That's such a geeky kind of thing. Someone who's successful at getting stuff for free is a scum. Obviously, they're a scum.
You're a scum. Do you remember that verb? Did you have that verb when you were a kid? Scumming stuff?
Yeah, scumming
when
stuff.
You could scum stuff? Or
scabbing stuff.
Yeah. So that's one of them.
Good answer, Scott.
Yeah, no worries.
That was a good answer.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm
no
still
worries.
thinking, what would I have?
Yeah. But the thing is, right, I don't want to get too technical here, but people are talking about extra character class, this, that, the other. You don't need all those extra character classes. Like, they've got all the archetypes there. You just invent a character.
And then you can fudge your own in-betweeny thing
anyway.
anyway.
That's right. It's a storytelling game. You don't need extra rules to, I've got a fighter, but the difference is he wears a bigger helmet. Just, whatever. Get over it, people.
Just wear whatever.
Yeah, I'm angry.
I agree.
I'm angry.
Someone needs to get over it.
I've never seen him so furious.
I'm furious!
Oh, geez.
He's taken all his clothes off and he's actually gripping the carpet.
With my toes as well.
What would you need if you were a good soap boxer?
Yeah, if I was. What are you talking about? If I was. Didn't you just see what happened?
Just if you were, you'd need charisma, yes?
A good soap boxer would definitely need charisma. Definitely.
Intelligence?
Yes, definitely. And some wisdom would be good too.
Strength, depending how heavy the soapbox is.
Oh, yeah, that he cuts around.
Yeah.
You could have it on wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but then he would wander off when he was standing on it.
Constitution to keep it together all
Keep
day.
it together, oh yeah. Public speaking is a talent.
Skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Is there a member of Tripod that is clearly a better gamer than the others?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I mean, we play a lot together, and I'm going to go with Gatesy. Yeah, it depends. It massively depends on the game. But for example, first-person shooters, I'm going to go with Gatesy. Actually, Gatesy's pretty. It depends on the situation.
Butcher of Blood Gulch is
Look, I've got blood on my hands. There's no question. I know how to butcher a man, but. It depends. Long range, you're a good shot, but in terms of sort of quick thinking and strategies and weapons, appropriate weapon choice and stuff, I'm okay.
I reckon if we just sat down at just some game, any genre, and just played first time any of us had played it, Gatesy would probably he's probably the most natural. But Scott puts in the hours. You see.
Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Now you have your instruments there. Would you like to play a song for us?
Oh yeah.
No way, we'll know that.
Yeah, the BC. Alright, so this is a song. We haven't played this for a while, so, wish us luck. Where's the one? There was a hot girl in the comic shop, and I didn't know what to do. There was a hot girl in the comic shop. She was looking for a Doctor Who.
I don't know what that means.
There was an actual girl in the comic shop. What a momentous day. I had to check to make sure that she wasn't just a human-sized cardboard display. My competition was a kid with pimples and a guy in a wheelchair. So I knew I had to act fast. There was a hot girl in the comic shop where I'd never seen a girl before. A kind of rockabilly question, actually. Intriguing. Maybe we should break it down in a sort of a jazzy way. I guess a Spider-Man's advantage would be his webs and his manual dexterity. But then again, the Hulk's endurance is limitless and is stronger than Spidey would be. It's so hard to know. It's so hard to know. There was a hot girl in the comic shop. About 10 minutes ago, there was a hot girl in the comic shop. Did anyone see her go? Had she come to the comic shop looking for love? I guess I'll never know.
True story.
That was Tripod with Hot Girl in the Comic Shop, and before that we heard our interview with them that we conducted in late 2010. You're listening to Z Games, celebrating 200 episodes. Next up, we're going to hear from Yahtzee, who is the creator of Zero Punctuation, a very critical video series.
Can I ask you what game you're currently playing?
Currently, and this is going to be a massive poo storm. I should say that sometimes I swear by accident, so get your hands ready around any small children you got listening. But I've been playing Final Fantasy 13, which is a very, very, very widely popular series.
Yes.
And they're probably not going to like what I've got to say about it. Let's just say that.
We have to admit we haven't been hearing great things.
Well, neither have I. I do try to avoid reading other people's reviews because it kind of affects my own recollection of the game. But
yeah.
So I usually try to not read any hype or reviews while I'm working on the review. But with a game of this high profile, you can't really avoid it.
Yeah.
People are saying like it's really boring for this first 20 hours, but it gets better later. But that's never been an excuse in my book because
you've got to get through that first 20 hours.
Well, exactly. I was talking to someone earlier, and he compared it to having to punch yourself in the balls before you can jerk off. Yeah, I hope you did have your hands ready next to your kids' ears just then.
No, your reviews are known, as well as being hysterically funny at times, you're known for being scathing and cynical. Have any games publishers ever contacted you about the nature of your review?
Surprisingly, not so many publishers. I do get a lot of communication from developers, the people who actually make the game rather than who actually distribute and sell it, because I tend to get on well with them because they always agree with me, even when I review games they've made, because they're always like, all the things you said in your review, those are exactly the same things we said to the publisher, but they wouldn't give us any more time, money, or whatever resource they'd run out of, and they just had to speed things out for deadline.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself being overly critical of a game because that's what your audience would expect?
I get accused of that an awful lot. I do genuinely have pretty high standards for games because I play so many of them. But a lot of times I do feel I have to focus on the negative, because even on the games I really like, because no one else will, someone has to. And that's something a lot of people who mail me tell me they appreciate.
That was Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation. Next up, we're going to hear from Ben Eli of Regurgitator.
Yay.
You guys were here for this one.
Yay.
It was about a year and a half ago now. Mm-hmm. This interview was really like 15-year-old Razor high-fiving like current Razor, because Regurgitator was such an important musical act for me when I was growing up. So to have Ben, across from the studio talking to me on my own show was one of the greatest pleasures of my life. So let's hear it. So Space Invaders, Pong, you mentioned. What other retro video games do you remember playing growing up?
Galaga was a big one. Pac-Man was a big one. I touched on those in the art show. That kind of stuff. I mean, I had an Atari that was pretty big. Also had a Commodore 64 that we used to spend days programming our own games. We'd get those like magazines with the pages of, letters and numbers, and if you got one wrong, the game wouldn't work, and those kind of things. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you still find any time to play video games? I know you're a busy man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've taken up so much time doing art lately, but I mean, I do like playing a lot of tabletop 80s games still, and I love pinball. I wish I had more time, but it seems like the games that you get these days on, Xbox, say, or whatever, seem so involved that, they chew up so much time. And, yeah, I kind of played them for ages, and then I kind of got to a point where I kind of need more time to do art and stuff. But, I mean, I still love them, and I've got a PSP that I play, but, I mean, I'll go to friends' houses to play Xbox or other stuff because... if I have them in my house, I feel like I just get so obsessed that I don't get off them for 3 days, and then I haven't slept, and I feel like a zombie.
And Black Bugs we played just before. Was there any particular video game that inspired that?
Yeah, it was definitely. I was playing Turok the Dinosaur Hunter with my friend I used to skate with, and we just went skating, and then after we skated, we went back to his place and played Turok, and I wrote the song while I was playing Turok.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was Turok 1, I think. There is black bugs in that game that attack you, and they did kill me. And that's why I wrote the song. Yeah.
Do you ever play any music-related video games like Rock Band, Guitar Hero, or DJ Hero?
Oh, look, I've got a bit of a problem with those. I mean, I did try once to play Guitar Hero, and I just kind of felt... there's a little bit of skill involved with playing Guitar Hero, but I kind of think, why don't I just pick up the guitar and play the guitar? I mean, it's probably easier and it's probably more satisfying. But I mean, and I felt like the feel of playing the guitar in the Guitar Hero wasn't as great as actually playing guitar through like a really loud amplifier. It's a lot more fun, even if you play like 3 chords with a really fast punk rock drummer. It's really good. And it's probably just as easy as playing Guitar Hero. But that's just my opinion. And if you love Guitar Hero, please keep playing Guitar Hero.
Go ahead and stop.
Sorry.
What would be a song that you would be most likely to choose to play if you were going to sit down and had to have a battle with some friends?
Playing Guitar Hero?
Guitar Hero, yeah.
I have to be Sweet Child of Mine.
Of course. You don't take the opportunity to sing that one as well?
Well, I do it while I'm playing it.
Oh,
it helps me play better. You guys do that when you play video games, don't you? You kind of yell at the screen and stuff. And you got to get involved. If you don't, you kind of, what's the point of playing video games?
Yelling's very different to singing melodically.
Oh, not really. I've seen a lot of people sing like that.
It's true.
You don't sing along to your video games, Max Payne walking around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Max Payne's like, I'm going to kill you! Ow! I was going to swear then, sorry.
Language warning.
Language warning. I didn't actually say hole. I just said ass.
Yeah, okay. Let's let our listeners solve that puzzle.
Yes.
I think every gamer has like an ideal game that they would create if they were given like the reins to create their own video game. What would be yours?
It'd be called God, and you just create worlds and control armies and just do whatever you want. You could make unicorns jumping over rainbows, or you could make like a tribe of barbarians slaughtering peasants or something. You could do whatever you want. Call it God. I think that's good. We should do that. Why did I just say that? I should have said that to you when we were off air.
Copyright that.
There's a bunch of guys right now going, God, it's brilliant. And they're all running to try and actually secure the URL right now.
God. Yeah. Sorry. You guys should just tell me to get out.
No, this is Champagne Radio, Ben.
Oh, okay.
Gold.
Come in every week.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, well, okay. Let's do it.
That was Ben Eli from Regurgitator during our Z Games interview.
You couldn't even announce that without laughing. Listeners, if you had your ears up close to the speaker, I think you would have heard Ray actually high-fiving himself during that interview.
Yeah, you were laughing at your own material from an earlier show.
That was such a great interview. He was super excited that night, I've got to say.
What's at the end? What's at the end? What's at the end? Say the train goes. What's at the end? What's at the end? What's at the end?
We are hearing some of the best interviews that we've ever had on the show. This next one is from MC Lars. Woo! If there was an MC Lars video game, do you think it would be like a rhythm game like Guitar Hero or DJ Hero, or would it be like a hack and slash RPG where you have to defeat men in suits who are trying to beat you with rolled up record contracts?
That's hilarious.
Record contract.
We actually developed a game at USC, with University of Southern California. They have the biggest gaming department in the U.S. And we made a game. It's called Flow Master, where you have to select the right rhyme on time with the beat, and you get points, and it tells a whole story. So that's done. We're just beta testing it. We're going to release it, but it is a rhythm game, and so it's going to be for the iPhone and the iPad. So that's coming out.
Fantastic.
When are we hoping to see that out?
Well, I don't know, the early next year, hopefully. I realize that in the gaming development world, things move much slower than the music business, just because you want to make sure something's perfect before you release it. But 2013, definitely. So,
that's very exciting.
Yeah.
So you made a career out of music while at the same time remaining independent, doing things your way. What advice would you give to musicians or anyone in the creative industries who would like to follow a similar path?
I think the trick is to stay cohesive with your vision. When you have a unique vision, if you're able to make it on your own and collaborate with people on your own terms, it makes it so what you have to say isn't compromised. I think a lot of the issues when people try to go the pop route or the major label route, or aren't so sure about what they're trying to say or how they want to say it, it becomes watered down and it becomes diluted. And I think the trick is being an independent artist allows you to do things your own way. And even if the field of grass that you're growing is smaller, it's your own. And no one can take that away from you. And I think that's my biggest advice. Don't try to copy what's on the radio. Don't try to emulate the pop music, because that is so ephemeral. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Look in your heart, figure out how to do it on your own terms, be persistent, and work hard, because it takes, it's taken me 10 years to be able to say, this is my job, this is what I do, and it was worth every minute. I wouldn't change anything. You know what I mean?
Awesome, man.
This is MC Lars, and you're listening to Zed Games.
Hello, and welcome back to the special end of the year 200th episode of Zed Games. Our Games of the Year is what we're going to be talking about next. Ray, would you like to kick us off? What was your Game of the Year?
Look, it's tough competition.
Everyone guess.
Narrow it down to The Last of Us, Persona... Or Persona 4.
Or Candy Crush Saga.
No.
Oh, no, that is me.
No, I'm not into that. That's
none of us
Candy's
have
game.
anything to talk about.
Or actually, Beyond Two Souls was floating around in my head. That story really stuck with me. But I have to give my number one Game of the Year to Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yep.
Typical.
Yep.
Why is that?
Well, that's the game that made me, my jaw drop the most. And it's the game I found myself with the most logged hours in, except for a couple of them, but those were grindy games. And, I back in 2001 or 2002, I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 3 for the first time, and my jaw just hit the floor. And Grand Theft Auto 5 had a similar effect on me. And just the craftsmanship of the world and the attention to detail just consistently surprised me. So that's why Grand Theft Auto 5 is my number one.
Just because it surprised you? What specifically about it did you like? I want to hear specifics.
Specifics?
No. Tell me one cool thing that you did in that game.
One cool thing?
That really sticks with you.
I don't know.
Is it the story about you playing tennis with that guy and then discovering that he had a bounty?
Yeah, look, I just remember, the fact that you can get on your motorbike and drive, and the world just keeps opening up, and you just keep going, and I don't know, it just feels like such a real place.
It is a massive map.
It's a massive map, and the exploration, you go around just exploring it for hours and hours and hours on end.
I do have a couple of complaints, though, with that game being so much driving. I think by the time that I'd finished it, I'd done 13 hours of driving. It's so much driving between missions, which is really the highlight of the game.
Yeah, well, that's why it's called Grand Theft Auto, not Grand Theft Pedestrian.
I don't want to walk.
Well, no. I've gone back to it, and I've been playing it this week because I didn't get to finish because I jumped into Assassins. So I've gone back to try and finish it this week, and I've started catching taxis. I'm getting
it's
a bit lazy.
It's the best way to do it because, really, the best part of that game for me was the characters. I loved Michael and watching his family fall apart and then realize that they're all messy and try to rebuild themselves, and everything that happened with Trevor. All these characters are so unique and dynamic, and the way that they grow is just phenomenal. It's absolutely incredible. But that being said, you have to drive for so goddamn long to get to the points where you can see these things happen with these characters.
Even so, I found the driving to be enjoyable in itself, just because I was, consistently amazed by how detailed and responsive the world was. As well as the story, I found the multiplayer actually sucking me in quite a lot. And I think, like, in a year's time, when I go back and chuck on a game from this year, I think it'll be Grand Theft Auto 5. And that's the main reason why I'm awarding it my personal game of the year.
Right.
I think the multiplayer mode actually gives it a whole new thing of life. And I'm looking forward to spending more time in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Trevor. Also, I've never played a character like Trevor. I just
I've got
thought he was awesome.
He is one of the most incredible characters of the year, I think.
Yeah.
And not
If
everyone
not
likes
the
him.
most incredible.
Yeah, you've just never seen anyone as psychotic and as blatantly, like,
But he's still
Filthy.
moral.
crazy.
He still has morals.
Well, he has his own
weird.
personal
It's just so-
principles.
yeah, but it's like they really mapped out those principles and then shaped the crazy around them. Like, it's not like they just threw it everywhere. You know, he's actually a well thought out psychopath.
Shaped the crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was brilliant.
All right. Next. Candy, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Well, Razor took mine. I was going to, talk more about that. But my second in line, I think, was BioShock, and this is BioShock Infinite. And this was, I don't think I got a lot of people in this room that agreed, but I realised it was one game. Like, the way that I looked back on how to choose my favourite game of the year was I didn't go into specifics of gameplay and characters and things like that. There was just... It was emotion driven for me, and I realised this was a game that I had to just keep playing until I got to the end and worked out what the hell it all meant, because I felt like there'd been a lead up of games to this one, and this was the final climactic moment where I suddenly learnt what everything meant, and there was no other game this year where it was that kind of a revelation at the end of it. And I realised by the end, I was sitting there crying when the credits were rolling, and it was just such an emotional ending for me, just having everything from the other two games suddenly all played out in what seemingly was a very simple ending to a very complicated trio of games. And so that's why BioShock Infinite got my vote. It was emotional.
Did do a very good job at drawing you into its world and making you keep playing and not want to put it down until you made it to the end.
And it was just beautiful to look at. It really was just spectacular to see this floating city of Colombia to begin with. And then it was, there were a lot of critics and negativity towards the storyline. It was very Anglo-Saxon driven and there was a lot of racial segregation throughout this game, and all of those things were made very obvious. And so that drew a lot of talk around it. And I don't know, it just kept drawing me in. Yeah, there was plenty of things that annoyed me about it as well, like Elizabeth going, Booker, catch, you need some money, blah, blah, blah. I got really sick of that, but there was enough about it that I still was very emotional by the end.
I don't think I'll ever forget how I felt playing the first, hour or two of that game, when everything's untouched and you're walking through this floating city where everything's still pristine and beautiful and all of these people are just peacefully coexisting, and you just sort of feel welcomed, almost like you should be there until everyone snaps and turns on you and it shows its ugly face.
Yeah, that first hour and the last hour are both incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I could have done without the 19 hours of killing the same three guys over and
in
over
between
and
those
They
2
were
hours of
hard.
amazing.
And the robot George Washington things,
God.
oh my
the
gosh,
Patriots.
the Patriots came out and I just wanted to turn it off. But having said that, it was the little things like the music. The music throughout it, you'd find those old record players and all of a sudden you realise you're listening to a Madonna pop song but done by an orchestra, just these incredible little snippets of, and then you find this one that's girls just want to have fun, and it was just, by the time, I'd sit there listening to a song for 20 seconds before I realised that it was a pop song from now, but it was just in these beautiful 1920s kind of...
And the
I just loved
Lutesses, the characters who created the... tears or the alternate realities, they were pretty fantastic. I remember every single time they were introduced, I was just like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's a game that had such strong world building and such interesting characters and a neat question at the core of it that you would endure that gameplay just to find out what all of that, how it all fit together.
It's definitely a credit to it.
Yeah, I really hope that Irrational don't make something just like this again in the next game. Hopefully they can bring in some new ideas apart from here's an amazing world, kill everything in it.
Yeah, we know that there's many worlds to travel through. They're all parallel universes and things, so that was... Yeah, anyway, that was my choice.
Jody, can I ask you a question that is not what is your game of the year?
Sure.
What are you looking for in a game of the year? What sort of game makes a game of the year for you?
For me, it's usually something innovative that gives me something I haven't seen in a game before. something that builds on everything that's gone before, but does something in a completely different way. That's what makes me remember a game as like emblematic of what happened in gaming in a particular year.
Fantastic. So that said, what was your game of 2013?
Mine was Don't Starve, because it's a survival game that takes that bit of Minecraft where you're terrified of zombies in the dark and don't know what you're doing, and makes an entire game out of that. Like, there have been so many games that ripped off Minecraft but did it clumsily or lazily, and just took the fact that you build things out of blocks, or the fact that you craft things and have to look at a stupid wiki to figure out how to do it, and you know, use that. But this didn't take any of that stuff. It just took the idea of surviving. And the longest I have survived in Don't Starve is by playing the character who is a circus strongman. I like him because, not because he's the strongest, but because he can store food like a camel. During the summer months, you just fill him full of carrots and berries and all of the produce from your crappy farms that you have built out of like the fertilizer you picked up by following yaks around and scooping their dung up. And he packs on those kilos, and then during the winter months when everything is frozen and rubbish and your farms will no longer grow and there are no berries on the trees, he can survive. So just the fact that he doesn't starve, like the clue to how to play the game is right there in the title. It's just like the biggest problem that you have isn't the packs of rabid dogs that will eat you or the trees that will come to life and chase you around forever.
Those are also problems.
Those are also problems, but once you figure out how to survive that stuff, you then realize, I have to keep eating every single day.
Yes.
It's an important life lesson.
It's something that even immersive role-playing games usually don't deal with. Like in Bioshock Infinite, you eat all the time if you need health back, but you don't just eat because you're hungry. And I actually found it really immersive when a game models that kind of stuff. The fact that you have to actually worry about not just eating food, but dealing with the cold, dealing with the dark, all of those things that are sort of base caveman level instincts are what this game taps into.
Back when I was addicted to Minecraft, I would remind myself to eat by watching the bread go down. So, like, I was very addicted to this game. It was unhealthy. I spent so much time on my server. So the way that I would actually think to eat was because the bread would go down and then my character would need to eat. And I was like, I should probably go have some food. So I think I learnt from that experience also.
See, games are educational. Nutrition, right there.
So far we've mentioned Don't Starve for the PC, GTA 5 and Bioshock Infinite. Lee, would you like to contribute to the pool?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a tough one for me. There was a lot of interesting games came out this year.
A great year for gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to say.
But in the end, the game that stuck with me the most, the game that pulled me back just recently was Saints Row 4, which I think is a very special cap on a series that a couple of us in this room have a great deal of gentle, warm feelings for. Saints Row 4, I think, was very, very rewarding if you had been a fan of the series through at least the last, the two previous games to this one, and if you were a fan of video games in general. It was a great big power trip on the as the main gameplay, but then the story itself was a warm one that was all about the importance of friendship and having friends, as well as the ability to let go of the past. And I was not expecting there to be as much depth, in this series that was, initially all about being a gangbanger in a fictional city and shooting up stuff. Like Saints Row was launched to be a 2-bit Grand Theft Auto, and I think that it really found its own voice, and in many ways it surpasses it as a game series.
Yeah, there are a lot of long-running series in video games, but Saints Row has sort of become unique in that it actually has the kind of character arcs developing over the course of those games that you would see in maybe a movie trilogy, but not expect from games. Like, it feels ridiculous to compare it to something like The Godfather, but that's what it's like. You have characters that develop and grow over the course of Saints Row 2, 3, and 4 in ways that are really narratively satisfying and actually make you think about them as people. You stop thinking about them as a collection of bits in a game and actually think, that's exactly what Kinsey would do, and that's totally what Pierce would say.
Yeah. I think it's also a game where your main character is one that you can invest a lot of time in customizing, and yet at the same time, I have such affection for my character, who was, by the fourth game is the president, and I just recently finished up the How the Saints Saved Christmas DLC that they just released, and I would pay $20 just for the end cutscene of that game. It is just such an amazing thing, because over the course of the downloadable content, your character, who is the leader of the Saints gang, finds the spirit of Christmas and then acts out upon that, and it is just the best thing that I have seen in some time.
And not just Christmas, but also Hanukkah and Festivus.
Yes, and Kwanzaa. Yeah.
Very cool. Alana, game of the year for you. Have you narrowed it down to just one? I know that you were particularly tormented by this proposition.
It's once again a really hard decision, and I really want to say Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, but I'm not going to, because Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is a game that I would probably not actually recommend to that many people, but it's a game that I would enthuse about for hours with other people who like it. So it's not necessarily something I think a lot of people would like, but it's something that I feel incredibly passionate about for the small cliche group of people who may like it. So obviously, Game of the Year is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Now, Dragon's Dogma came out last year, but I say Dark Arisen because in Dark Arisen you get fairy stones, which are basically things that allow you to unlimitlessly fast travel. And that's the only thing that I didn't like about the original Dragon's Dogma, was that you couldn't fast travel and there was so much walking and dying because you'd forgotten to save and having to do the same thing over and over and over again, and that was the only flaw I found in the entire game. So having Dark Arisen fix that one flaw, plus add more to the game, is just everything that I could ever ask for. Now, particularly what is so good about it is the quests themselves. If you do one quest, it'll block off another quest. Something else will become impossible to do. And if you do one thing a certain way, it'll change what shops are available to you, what prices you can get things at. It really influences pretty much the entire world, even though the world is quite small. But you, as this tiny little man who's had their heart stolen from a dragon, feel kind of like you fit in, even though you're ultimately the chosen one. You feel like you belong in this town where you're influencing all these things and making friends or making enemies, and it's such a really, really unique experience to watch everything that happens unfold with the Duke and the King, and you're really sort of just a little side note there until the game hits this point where you think it's finished and you think that you've just beaten the final boss, and then you find out that you completely haven't, and you wake up and everything's just torn apart and the whole world is just destroyed, and you have to go through all this stuff all over again, and you're confused the whole time.
It really does go batshit crazy.
It does, but it's in a great way. It's not in a like, I'm so confused. It's in a like, oh my god, this is incredible kind of way, where you just want to like eat it all up. And I had, I was tweeting when I was playing the game, and I had other people who'd finished it before me be like, oh, this is so cool to watch someone play through it again, because you'd want to have that same experience with how ridiculously creative it is over and over and over again. And when you finally finish the game, I can't say what happens because it's really, really awesome, but it's just the whole thing, the way that it all pieces together, all these little things you do with all these unexpected outcomes, just builds into this beautiful thing that you have to think about afterwards for a really long time to sort of figure out what it means. And I don't remember the last time that I've wanted to complete every single quest in an RPG, and the only way that you can complete every single quest is by doing them in that set specific order that it won't cancel out another quest. And it's like, it's something I will complete because it's so damn fun, but I feel like that's a whole lot of dedication right there.
Very cool. Okay, let's spend a couple of minutes to rush through all the games that we want to acknowledge but don't have time to talk about in depth. For me, my very close number 2 was The Last of Us, and this was just an absolute masterpiece of a game. The graphics were really responsible for helping me smooth into next gen. Like, a lot of times I couldn't believe I was playing a
Those
PS3
facial expressions were crazy.
It was just so good and so nice. But the real star of this game was the narrative. It was such a mature and heavy-hitting emotional experience that, you know, this game could go up on a shelf with your favorite movie, your favorite novel, and your favorite album. You know, like for me, it really represents some of the finest that the video game medium has to offer. And the only reason that I chose GTA 5 over it was just because of the sheer fun that I have on blowing up like hordes of pedestrians. And that's just because I'm sick inside. Yeah.
Ironically, both of yours are R18.
18?
R18. They're both R18 plus games.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that passed.
Yeah, me too. And that's something that we that happened this year.
Yeah.
1st of January, we got the R18 plus rating.
Finally,
in
Australia.
Yeah, great year for games. Anyone else?
Yeah, while you're on that topic, I guess, I wanted to put a shout out to 400 Days, which was the Walking Dead downloadable content that came out only a couple of months ago. That was brilliant, and it just summed up everything that I loved about the Walking Dead episodes, and all it did was just make me so sad that the next episode wasn't out like immediately, because I just...
It's out now.
It's out now.
I know. When I played the download, it wasn't, and then I was like, oh god damn it, now I have to turn it off and just wait a little bit longer. But so yes, it is out now, so I would encourage people to go
play
and
that.
play. Yay.
My special mentions are Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, as I said, for just being so much goddamn fun, and probably the funniest game I've ever played. It's like a cheesy 80s action sci-fi kind of game, and it's just so ridiculous and over the top and awesome. But also A Link Between Worlds, which is the latest Zelda game, for paying a really nice ode to A Link to the Past and being one of the more inventive Zelda games, and then it sort of changes Zelda mechanics. And Pokemon X for just being really damn addictive. How about you, Jody?
The other game of the year I liked a lot was Papers, Please, which was the indie game about being a border inspector on the border of an awful Eastern European nation and being stuck as this cog in an awful machine. And it wasn't a fun game, but it was a deeply affecting game and unlike anything else I've ever played.
Cool. Lee?
I would like to mention Gunpoint, which was just a very tight little indie game that I didn't get to play when it came out, but as soon as I got it, I played it and didn't stop. It was just this excellent little 2D stealth platformer where you are a private detective who has to infiltrate office buildings after dark, and in order to do that, he has a pair of electric pogo pants that allow him to fling himself great distances and through glass windows, and he can also rewire all of the electric devices in the building in order to make weird things happen. It was such a great puzzle game, such a great stealth game, so very simple and yet so cleverly constructed and sharply written. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Just a quick mention of everyone that responded to us on Facebook. Christopher says GTA 5 is his pick. Benjamin, Bioshock Infinite or Tomb Raider.
Yay.
Davey Sanford agrees Bioshock Infinite. Susanna said Bioshock Infinite as well, or the Stanley Parable. Bioshock Infinite looks to be one of the most popular ones here.
I picked it.
Daniel chose GTA 5. Eric, The Last of Us, and also Mortal Kombat that we had to wait 2 years for.
Good man.
Very cool. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed our final episode of 2013. And, if you disagree or agree with our picks for Game of the Year, let us know on our Facebook, ZGamesAU.
When are we coming back, Razor?
We're coming back on the 8th of January. So for the next couple of weeks on a Wednesday, there'll be some other great stuff happening, but just not us. Yeah. Also, one big special announcement I make before I go is we're now on iTunes.
Hooray!
You can search for us on the iTunes store. So, as much as I believe that iTunes is like the prison warden of the Apple ecosystem,
we're on it, so whatever.
It is like the number one way to get podcasts. So, yeah, go search for those. Fantastic. All right, guys, we'll catch you next year.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed the show.
Goodbye. Merry Christmas, everyone, and other religious-related things.
Happy New Year.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. This has been Z Games, recorded live in Brisbane on 4ZZZ and heard nationally thanks to the Community Radio Network. For more information on the show and to join the Z Games community, head to our website, zgamesau.net. That's spelt Z-E-D, or send us an email at contact@zgamesau.net. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Z Games is produced with the assistance of the Community Broadcasting Foundation.